Right then, do I have any apologies for absence?
Chair, there's no apologies.
Great. Any declarations of interest? I'm going to take that as a no. Do we have any public questions today? No. Receipt of petitions. I believe we have two, one for Grofield Ward and one for Wisham.
Madam Chair, I have a petition from residents in Monmouthshire. It's a petition saying that the undersigned are opposed to the use of tarmac or asphalt and cattle grids on Castle Meadows, Abergavenny.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think you're supposed to put it.
I'll give this to you.
Thank you, Chair. I also have a petition from the members of Wisham Ward regarding the play area in Wisham and its flooding and usability. If I could present that. Thank you.
Councillor Howarth.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon to you, Chair. Welcome to your first meeting. Chairman, could you explain to members how important it is now reference to petitions, perhaps Chief Executive, where they go, etc., because there will be quite a few come here possibly in the next 12 months, so members have an understanding of the procedure and what we do within Monmouthshire. Thank you, Chair.
No problem. I'm going to defer to you for this.
Thank you, Chair and Chief Executive. Actually, it's a timely question because the legislation has changed with regards to petitions and the ability to now use e-petitions. So when we get onto the agenda item around the Constitution, there have been changes made to the Constitution which incorporate those changes, and this was part of a report that was taken to Democratic Services Committee a few months ago as well. But in short, there's certain, all of the explanations about how people can go around a petition is set in there. There's certain thresholds in terms of the numbers required to submit one. The primary route initially now will be through the scrutiny committees because, of course, they provide a really important landing point for some of these issues and then where they go thereafter will be determined by that committee. But I think the key thing to take away is it's one of a number of ways that our residents, our citizens have an opportunity to engage with the council, and it's something that I imagine all councillors will probably get approached with at some point during their tenure. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, our next piece of business is to elect a leader of the County Council. Do I have any nominations? Councillor Griffiths.
I nominate Councillor Mary Ann Brocklesby.
Fantastic. Do I have any other nominations? I'm sorry, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Garrick. Any other nominations? No, okay. I will, in that case, proceed to a vote on Mary Ann Brocklesby. Mm-hmm. Could you all please put your phones on silent? Thank you.
Chair, if I may, I can see the votes. I can see that 42 have voted electronically, and I know there's been a further 2 votes cast up here. The numbers as they fall are 26 for and 17 abstentions. Therefore, it's very clearly carried in this case.
Well, congratulations, Councillor Brocklesby. I can invite you to address the council, please.
Thank you. Thank you. I am honoured and privileged to become leader of the council of Monmouthshire, a county that I believe we all love and that we all want to serve the people in the best way possible, whatever our party colours and wherever we sit in the county. I'm also aware of the responsibility the position brings to serve the people of Monmouthshire and work with them. As a Labour council, I can tell you we are committed to work with everyone, recognising and celebrating the differences, because it's from this rich diversity that we find the solutions and actions that will benefit all of us. Monmouthshire voted for change 2 weeks ago, and through a Labour administration, we will show the people in Monmouthshire that we will work differently in a collaborative and non-divisive way across council with communities, with businesses, and the many voluntary groups and the many different interests and skills and expertise that we have in our county. May the 5th was historic in many ways. It was the largest Labour. We are going to be a Labour council, the first in a generation. That makes me very happy. It's the first gender-balanced council in Wales, and as someone who spent a lifetime fighting for equality, I am enormously proud of the people of Monmouthshire in what they did on May the 5th. And now as I speak here, I realise that I may be the first women leader of Monmouthshire County Council, voted on merit by my party and by you. Thank you. Before I continue, I would like to pay tribute to the people and the actions who brought us to this position today. Firstly, as Councillor Richard John so eloquently said at the AGM, he clearly and rightly emphasised a 50-50 gender balance wasn't a mistake, it wasn't happenstance, it was hard won and agreed between Councillor John himself, ex-Councillor Dimitri Petroni, and all of the members of the council, of the previous council, and your activists and people in Monmouthshire who saw it made sense to have a 50-50 representation so that all genders are recognised and all genders' interests are discussed both in council but taken into the way that we work as a council across Monmouthshire. In my party, I'd like to pay particular tribute to the selfless service of Labour councillors who stepped down in the last election. Councillor Dimitri Petroni, Councillor Jim Higginson, Councillor David Evans and Councillor Roger Harris. Along with Councillors Thomas, Grocott, Easons and Watts, these Labour councillors have given their service to their ward members and kept our Labour values alive and respected until we as a Labour council has been elected. I would like to thank you all. I would like to pay particular tribute to Roger Harris, who I did think was going to be over there, so I could have a laugh. He was first elected in 2014 and retired after 18 years as a councillor and a lifetime of public service. There wasn't a person in his ward that didn't know Roger, and I know that personally. There isn't a person in Monmouthshire County Council who doesn't know Roger and respect him For Labour councillors, and I expect many other councillors, Roger has been inspirational and a role model of what service to the community means. If we as a council do not get this right, do not listen, and do not work with everyone in our wards and across our Monmouthshire, not only would the electorate give us a hiding, I fear the wrath of Roger. And we aim to be true to his legacy. And he has set the bar very high, and we as a council will emulate that and hopefully go above that bar. Aim high, people. We now set to honour the promise we in Labour made before the election. We will work with all political parties and groups represented here in coming to progressive decisions on behalf of everybody in Monmouthshire. We know under Labour, working collaboratively, Monmouthshire can tackle the challenges facing the county, the challenge of cost of living, the challenges of climate, the challenges of social care, the challenges of being connected, the challenges of homelessness and affordable housing. These are all our priorities, and I believe that we can face them together by ensuring we listen to everyone so we make the right investments for a greener, fairer, sustainable Monmouthshire with an economy where everyone succeeds and feels valued. We will be working from now on to ensure we actually seek input across all in the council in developing our strategic plan for the coming 5 years. By autumn, we will be ready to share that with council. My first action as leader is to present my cabinet to you. So they'll probably have to stand up because I guess many of you don't know who they are. Firstly, I'd like to introduce my deputy leader and cabinet member for a sustainable economy, Councillor Paul Griffiths. I'm also delighted to introduce Councillor Rachel Gareth as our cabinet member for resources. A very familiar face for you, Councillor Martin Grocott, cabinet member for education. A newer face, but we are all valued here, is Councillor Sarah Birch, cabinet member for inclusive and active communities. A second familiar face, Councillor Tudor Thomas, cabinet member for social care, safeguarding and accessible health services. Councillor Catherine Maybe will be our cabinet member for climate change and the environment. And finally, our cabinet member for equalities and engagement is Councillor Catherine Fuchs. I would just finish by emphasising that it is both a privilege and responsibility to serve the people of Monmouthshire. I will strive to do my best, and the whole of my cabinet and our group will strive to work in ways that are collaborative, cross-party, and are always, always for the benefit for everybody in Monmouthshire. Thank you.
Councillor John, I believe you had your hand up.
Thank you very much. Well, today I have the privilege of being the first person to congratulate Mary-Ann on your new role. We wish you good luck, congratulations, and the achievement of being the first ever female leader of Monmouthshire County Council is not one to be overlooked in any way. When you think that local government in our geographical area has existed for, in one guise or another, for probably about 2,000 years, and you are the first female leader, and you will always have that achievement. So I think you really deserve our congratulations today for smashing that glass ceiling, and you will be a role model for future female leaders to look to. So it's it's a real privilege to lead this council, and I think today is a real landmark and a personal achievement for you, Mary Ann. So we really do congratulate you. I congratulate the Labour group and all the Labour councillors on their election results. While I note that more residents in Monmouthshire voted Conservative than voted Labour, the arithmetic in the chamber is not lost on me. My team and I knocked on thousands of doors throughout the campaign, and we didn't get the sense that there was an overwhelming desire for a Labour council. Indeed, there were some residents who told us perhaps they were voting Labour because they were unhappy with a particular individual in in Westminster. And clearly, I think there were a lot of voters in Monmouthshire who wanted to send a message, and indeed they did. But I make this point not to be churlish, but to recognise that we are a council in no overall control. That there is no political group here that has an overall majority. And I think in the way we proceed, we need to recognise that, and we need to make sure that we are reaching across and we're finding common ground. And I really welcome the comments that Mary Ann has made. The only way that any of us is going to achieve results for our residents is by working together and crossing those party political divides. So I really hope that we can take the opportunity to do that. I can, as well as Mary Ann, I congratulate Paul, Rachel, Martin, Sarah, Tudor, Catherine and Catherine on their new roles. We look forward to holding you all to account for your decisions, but we will do so in a fair and constructive manner. Often we felt that the opposition we received was at times confrontational and aggressive. We will not be that sort of opposition. We're going to be constructive. We're going to be fair. We want what's best for our county. We recognise that all of us in this chamber do. So when we think you're doing the right thing, we will back you 100%. When we think you're taking the wrong path, we will offer a constructive alternative, but we will do so in a way that is scrutiny, but is also constructive criticism. My group was elected with a sense of urgency to get things done for our residents. We published a manifesto setting out our ambitions for our county for a green, innovative, caring and inclusive Monmouthshire. We have a clear plan of what we would want to prioritise if we were running the council. So if cabinet members are keen to genuinely work across party, I'd really invite you to read it and see where there are areas of common ground where we can work together. And I know that there will be many areas like tackling climate change, improving road safety, investing in schools and better facilities for children and young people, helping older people retain their independence, improving transport connectivity and creating a fairer society. I think there are a number of areas where we can work together. So, from the Welsh Conservative Group here, we wish the new administration well. We look forward to working with you when we can, but also being a critical friend and taking that positive approach to opposition. We all stood for election with a desire to do the best we possibly can for our residents. And I hope that all of us, the 46 of us, can make good on that promise and deliver over the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
Councillor Easton, I'll have Councillor Taylor first, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Can I also congratulate Councillor Brocklesby on her election as leader of the council, and absolutely offer our heartfelt good wishes to the entire administration. As Councillor Johns just said, there is clearly a desire, and the numbers in the chamber suggest that people wanted to see some change. However, as he also points out, there is not an overall mandate, and I think that offers us the opportunity, possibly the opportunity of a generation, to work together across all of this chamber to bring together experience, knowledge, and to find those solutions for some of the intractable problems that our county faces. And I very much, and I know the group also very much looks forward to working with the new administration in the development of these, their ideas, policy proposals. And equally, we will look to absolutely support where we feel that there is it is the right path for this council and brings benefit for the residents that we seek to represent. We will seek to retain our independence, but we will also hold to account in a very fair but very clear way, because a council without a strong opposition is not a strong council. And therefore, I'd certainly also like to welcome all of the new members into the council chamber today for our the first meeting of this term. And I also want to pay tribute to those members of the council that either stood down at the last election or did not win their seat. I particularly, from our group, like to pay our thanks to Councillor Val Smith, who, and I'm not sure of the actual numbers, but I do believe served for over 35 years in one capacity or another. And that level of public service is probably oft not seen a great deal. So please accept our good wishes, and we hope to work with you constructively. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Easton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep it short and sweet. You'll hear a lot of me in the next number of years. On behalf of Newport East Constituency Labour Party, of which we have 7 members in the Sevenside branch, we send out congratulations to Mary Ann. Thank you.
Okay, right, I'm now going to move us to item 6 of the agenda, representation of political groups. And for this, I'm going to hand over to Matt Phillips.
Thank you, Chair. So, councillors, typically you would have reports brought forward to you by the appropriate cabinet member. Clearly, in the way things pan out for the first council of a term, that's difficult to do. And actually, these are some of the kind of housekeeping reports, if you like, that come forward at every AGM, and so therefore it's my responsibility to present them. The first report, and they do run in an order for a reason, but the first report sets out effectively the number of seats to be allocated to each group within the council on the basis of the proportionality within the council as a whole. There are the committees listed at 2.1 are the committees that this legal requirement applies to, and therefore there's 84 seats in total, and those numbers break down in accordance with the columns that you can see under each of the groups at the recommendations at 2.1. So very simply, this is the report that I have to amend or bring forward to council every year so that we satisfy a legal duty, so that those committees are subsequently appointed to correctly, and very simply with this report asking that the council accepts the report and the appendices that support it therein. Thank you, Chair.
Do you have any questions on this item? Nope. Okay. Item 7 then, appointments to committees. I'm sorry. Do we vote to agree item 6? My apologies. Yes, Councillor Easton.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Can I make a comment or say some words on...
Can we hear the result of the vote, please?
I thought you'd gone through that then. You can't make comments now. Wait till vote, is it? Wait. Okay, fine.
Thank you, and that item is approved. Councillor Easton, if you have a comment, can you keep it very brief, please? Okay, now moving to item 7, appointments to committees, and I will again hand over to Matt for this.
Thank you, Chair. So following on from the maths in the first one, this is what sets out the terms of reference for the various committees that Council have. There is more detail within the Constitution on some of these, so simply what you're being asked to vote on in the first part of this recommendation is that the committees be appointed to. What we are not going to do is go through each of those committees and seek for those names to be dealt with today. That is something that can follow. There is, however, one appointment that has to be made by Council, which is the Chair of the Democratic Services Committee. So again, Chair, happy to take any questions or hear the nominations for the Chair.
So do we have nominations for Chair? Councillor Taylor.
Chair, can I nominate Councillor David Jones for the Chair of Democratic Services Committee, please?
Fine. Do I have a seconder for Councillor David Jones? Thank you. Do we have any other nominations? No? OK, we'll proceed to a vote on Councillor Jones, please. Councillor Powell.
Thank you. Oh, it's just come now. We thought it hadn't come up. Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Fantastic. That's agreed. So congratulations, Councillor Jones. OK, we'll now move to item 8, appointments to outside bodies. And yet again, I will hand us over to Matt for this.
Thank you, Chair. So, unlike the previous report in terms of the committees and how they will be dealt with thereafter, the outside bodies are appointments that are made by Council itself. Therefore, that's why we need to deal with this report here. All councillors have been sent an email by Nick prior to the meeting, which sets out, and there's 9 pages of these appointments, but I'm incredibly grateful to the group leaders, Councillor Grocott, for the engagement they've had prior to the meeting in sorting out the vast majority of these. So I'm just going to call at the document. There are a number that we may need to consider, but the document does cover, like I said, 9 pages worth of appointments that have been agreed between the groups. So what I'm going to be asking, Chair, if that's okay, is for the Council to vote on the document in its entirety so that all the appointments are covered en bloc. There are some that need a degree of further discussion. Councillor Taylor, I'm grateful for the message that you sent through regarding number 12, the South Wales Fire Authority. So that's been noted, thank you. And the document will be amended. Number 20, which is page 2, is the Welsh Books Council. There is 1 representative for that position. There's currently 2 councillors who've been nominated. That's Councillor Ben Callard and Councillor Emma Bryn. So perhaps, unless the leaders wish to speak in any way on any aspect of it, perhaps we would deal with that vote first, Chair.
OK, would anybody care to nominate Councillor Bryn? Thank you, Councillor Jones. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Bryn? Councillor Taylor, thank you. Do I have a nominator for Councillor Callard? Councillor McConnell, thank you. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Brocklesby, thank you. So we will now proceed to a vote on this position.
Chair, so we can see in the chat that the vote is split 22 for Councillor Bryn, 21 for Councillor Callard. I've had the additional 2 votes from up here, which brings that to 23, Councillor Bryn, 22, Councillor Callard. I can see there is 1 member who's not present at the moment. So that vote has been won by Councillor Bryn.
Congratulations, Councillor Bryn.
Councillors, right, so the other appointment, which is causing us a degree of conversation up here, is for the Living Levels Partnership Board. So there are 2 representatives on this board. 3 names have been put forward: Councillor Maybe, Councillor Birch and Councillor Taylor. We're discovering the limitations of hybrid voting up here because we've realised that trying to get 2 votes cast for 2 out of 3 nominations is not actually possible. So we're going to take inspiration from our children and young people side of things and get the school register out. And as you saw us do on Tuesday afternoon, what we're going to ask Nick to do is call out each councillor's name in turn. I'm assuming we have Councillor Edwards on there now.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. And what we are looking for from those 3 names is 2 nominations from each person, please. So the nominations being put forward are Councillor Maybe, Councillor Birch and Councillor Taylor. And we need each person to vote for 2 of those out of those 3 people. And then we'll do all the complicated maths again up here. Is that clear? Excellent. Nick, over to you.
Okay, Councillor Bond.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Thank you. Councillor Brocklesby.
Councillor Maybe. Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Bromfield.
Councillor Maybe and Taylor.
Councillor Brown.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Bryn.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe, please.
Councillor Birch. Sorry.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Butler.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Callard.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Chandler.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Crook.
Councillor Maybe and Birch.
Councillor Davis.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Dimmock.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Easton.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Fuchs.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Garrett.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Garrick.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Greenland.
Councillor Maybe and Taylor.
Taylor.
Councillor Griffiths.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Grocott.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Howarth.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Howells.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor John.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor, please.
Councillor David Jones.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Penny Jones.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Keir.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe, please.
Councillor Lane.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Lucas is away at the moment. Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor McConnell.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor McKenna.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Murphy.
Councillor Maybe, Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Neal.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Pavia.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Powell.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Riley.
Councillor Birch and Councillor Maybe.
Councillor Rook.
Councillor Maybe, Councillor Birch.
Councillor Sandals.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Stevens.
Councillor Maybe, Councillor Birch.
Councillor Jackie Strong.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Peter Strong.
Councillor Maybe, Councillor Birch.
Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor. It's very...
Councillor Thomas.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Watts.
Councillor Maybe and Councillor Birch.
Councillor Webb.
Councillor Taylor and Councillor Maybe.
And Councillor Wright.
Councillors Maybe and Birch.
You do that, Carl.
Chair, so the results are 45 for Councillor Maybe, 22 for Councillor Birch and 23 for Councillor Taylor. Therefore, it's Councillor Maybe and Councillor Taylor. So, Chair, now, and just to explain why it can take a while between the point up here we say there's going to be a vote and it actually appearing in your screens, is because of Nick has to wait to hear what the options are quite often, and with the fabulous nails that she has, it can sometimes take a little while to get everything tapped in.
Councillor Howarth.
Yes, Chair. Would it be possible that when we're going through the documents now that actually we can just name the page, because some people are just trying to trace the page, so we might jump from 20 to 28 or something, so we know what we're reading. All right, thank you.
No problem at all.
So, Chair, sorry, so the final vote would be on the entirety of the document, which makes all of the other nominations across it. So it will be a simple request for a vote for or against the nominations en bloc.
Chair, I've got my hand up with a query, if I may. I'd like some guidance from Chief Officer for People and Governance. There are some of the outside bodies there that now have not enough representation. Could we bring a further report forward? Things like the pension fund. I have a personal interest in that one. Rather than just let them have a vacancy, could we come back with a further report? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, Councillor. I didn't want to push the issue on voluntelling someone in this council, but we'll bring another report forward to nail down those issues.
Councillor Eason.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Can I indulge you with some comments regarding the appointments to NRW, not the appointments to the NRW, but the NRW body itself? In the last council, or since 2021 or 20, I think, the Natural Resources Wales have not met. They were not desirous of meeting with the representatives of Newport City, Cardiff City and ourselves. Since then, we've had the pandemic. There's been no attempt to have Zoom meetings. This body is a very important body in Natural Resources Wales, as a lot of our planners will be considered the fact that we get trouble with the 20 million chickens on north of the Wye, which is causing phosphate problems and building problems. And secondly, we've got issues in the south of the county on the Caldic and Wentlows Drainage Board where planning applications are not being considered by the representative councillors. I'm of the view that, that I'd like this council to seriously contact the Chief Executive of NRW to get this committee back up and running formally. Councillor Cook could probably add to it because he's having problems in Mega because this particular body does not appear to address their issues with the public. I think that they're avoiding scrutiny for some reason or other, and scrutiny gives us the opportunity to oversee the areas in question, and also for the penny rate payers and the other landowners who actually work and live on the moors in the south particularly. It's particular concern to me recently is that if NRW were up for scrutiny, we might have picked up some concerns across the moors in the south where part of their duties are to carry out investigations on sluice gates and things like that. Yet, recently, a body was found, a nephew of one of my constituents, in and around the sluice gates in the south of the county, which if there'd been proper scrutiny and the ability well, whether the operators have been given the work or not, I don't know. But I believe that body would have been found instead of lying there for about 4 or 5 months. That gentleman went missing just before I had my knee operation, and I spoke to Penny Jones, the cabinet member at the time, and it was followed up by social services, but eventually the lad disappeared and he was found 2 weeks ago. So I'm concerned that scrutiny is important. Scrutiny might have kept the finger on the pulse of what's happening in the south of the county. And I would like the chief officers and perhaps the chief executive as well to take us up strongly with NRW to reinstate this body. It's an important body, particularly in the north as well. I did sit for a while with the lower Wye bit, but I think they want to try and combine them, because when you meet in Monmouth, you meet representatives of Herefordshire Council, Forest of Dean, Worcester, so you get the feeling of how the actual river at the top end of the county runs. So I'd like to see some pressure put on NRW to get this committee running. I do believe that the manager at the moment, or whatever his job title is, does not want to join in scrutiny. So I'd like that taken forward from this council today. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to ask our Chief Executive to respond to this.
Councillor Easton, I'm meeting with the Chief Executive and her leadership team at the end of this month, so I will raise it with them directly then.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Just very briefly, can I thank the Chief Executive for advising us of that, because I would absolutely agree with Councillor Easton, and I'm sure that Councillor Crook would also agree, because we've had a very, very challenging time in the matter of resolving some of the issues on the levels with Natural Resources Wales. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, so we only have 12 votes cast on this so far, so if you intend to vote, could you please do so? Right, that item has been approved, so I'm going to move us on to item 9, Constitution Review, for which I am afraid again I'm going to hand us over to Matt Phillips.
Councillors, it's rare I'd ever bring anything to council, and yet you've had me 4 times today. Council is a far more interesting and exciting place than my representation would be, and I'm afraid we have to talk about the Constitution. So we discussed it the other day, the fact that this is the document that contains our rules of procedures, our protocols, our delegated authorities to make decisions. It was last updated by council in March of last year, and I was asked at that council to bring forward the Constitution annually so that I could report on any changes changes that I've made within my powers, which are legal and editorial. And there has also been some additional kind of substantive changes that require Council's ratification in that time. The report sets out at the appendix every single change that I've made. I'd say 90% of them are because of the Local Government and Elections Act 2021, with some of the provisions that come into power this month. Probably 6-7% are the result of council decisions taken in previous meetings, and then there are 1 or 2 on there that are the result of issues that have come up either in council or have come through other avenues. So there is nothing on here which is new today. It will all have come through a route one way or the other. I won't line by line you through the contents of appendix that sets out the changes, but happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Councillors, are we happy to proceed on a vote to agree the Constitution? I'm sorry, Councillor Garrick, did you have your hand up?
Apologies. Apologies for not standing. I have a lot of arthritis in my back, and standing up and sitting down really does it for me. Just referring to the conversation we had a couple of days ago, under 26.5.2, some of the references there are a little old of the legislation and will need updating. It's not an issue in terms of it can be updated in year, but it's only appropriate that the council is aware of that before it passes.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Now we're going to move to a vote. Fantastic. So item 9 has been approved. We're now going to move on to confirming the minutes of the meeting of the County Council held on the 3rd of March this year. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Does anybody need a couple of minutes just to refresh them in their mind? Okay. Are we ready to proceed to a vote on whether they are accepted as a true and accurate record? Councillor Brocklesby.
If we weren't here in the last council, how would we know?
I think we're just going to work on the basis the people who were here are going to have to approve them.
Chair, I'm happy to move those as a true record.
Fantastic, thank you. And Councillor Howarth seconded. Thanks.
Chair, I was just going to suggest, as long as someone's happy to move and second, and there was no objections from anyone who was in the previous term, we won't go to the vote.
Fantastic. Okay, councillors, well, date of next meeting is to follow, but and that concludes our business for today, so thank you all very much.